How's everyone doing? We are 9 and 4 and more, where we talk Jaguars football and other news around the National Football League. Today we have another video, and today's video is a first-round mock draft for all 32 teams. Basically, how this is going to work, I'm going to start things off with pick one, and then Brandon will do pick two, and we'll just rotate every other selection. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting things off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars picking number one. This is an easy decision. Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the future quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban Meyer was not taking this job if it was not for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's the easy pick. He already has the playbook in hand. Like it's him. So, and then we'll move on to pick two with the Jets. There's also a no-brainer that they got rid of Sam Darnold. They're easily going to go for a quarterback, and what everybody has on their board is Zach Wilson. Maybe a Baker Mayfield situation happens where all of a sudden Trey Lance comes up or something. But until then, everything that is going on right now, it's going to be Zach Wilson.
I agree 100% with the Zach Wilson pick for the New York Jets. So both Jaguars and Jets are having new quarterbacks for the 2021 season. Now we have the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers a few weeks ago were originally picking pick 12, but traded up to pick number 3, and it seems like they're going to be drafting a quarterback. Now, for me, if I was the 49ers, I would go Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft, but it seems like they're either going to go Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Based off all the mock drafts and everything I'm reading, I'm going to go ahead and select Mac Jones to be the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. I assume Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starter this year, but then next year Mac Jones will transition to QB1.
Yeah, I completely agree that I think Field and Lance are both better prospects even than Mac Jones, but that's where everything's coming at. Could be a smoke screen. We'll see. Pick number 4 is the Falcons. This is another team that has been linked to quarterbacks, but as of lately has been linked to trading down. We're not going to do any trades in this. We're just going to pick them like we see them. And from what I'm seeing, we're gaining a lot of momentum. And what I think would personally be best if Falcons are picking number 4 is Kyle Pitts. And the reason Kyle Pitts is they have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and you put Kyle Pitts in that lineup. Arthur Smith loves running the 2 tight end set. Have him and Hurts out there. Atlanta's offense will be pretty close to one of the top offenses in the league with this selection.
I definitely like the selection. I would not be surprised if they still end up going quarterback, but I definitely think Kyle Pitts, especially if they're going to be sticking with Matt Ryan for a few more years, Kyle Pitts definitely makes sense. Now for the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, what's funny is we actually did a mock draft a few days ago, but unfortunately it didn't work out. So this is our second take. And I was actually going to go tackle with the Cincinnati Bengals. But now I'm actually leaning towards wide receiver. If you can go to wide receiver for me. And I'm going wide receiver for the purpose of that they lost A.J. Green. Yeah, they have T. Higgins still, and they still have Tyler Boyd, but I still think they want to make an explosive offense with Joe Burrow. And no other better way than to pair him with his buddy from LSU, Jamar Chase. I still think you need to protect Burrow, but there are a bunch of good offensive linemen in this draft. I think they can get a starter in round 2.
Yeah, 100% agree that it is either going to be probably Sewell or Chase. Why wouldn't you pair Chase with Burrow? And they actually did. They signed the tackle from the Minnesota Vikings, and they also have a first-round pick, and that's going to play their left tackle. Was it Jonah Williams? And I believe he was hurt as well. So I think they're going to try to get more targets for Burrow and maybe draft a guy later on.
Yep.
Now, here we are with pick number 6, the Miami Dolphins. This is a team that traded down with the Eagles at 12 and then traded back up, with the San Francisco 49ers and then traded back up in the Eagles pick. All the indications are that they're going to pick a wide receiver, that they want to give as many weapons around 2 as possible. They do maybe need an edge rusher, running back, linebacker, but those are probably later picks. They still got pick 18 coming on. No one's picking running back at 6. With Chase gone, that was probably their target. I also think that they could possibly go with Waddle, and I think Waddle is their guy here. They already have 2 very tall receivers on the outside with Parker and Williams. They need that slot guy. Waddle and Tua have a history with Alabama connections, so I think Miami's premier target here at pick 6 is Jalen Waddle.
I definitely like that selection. Give Tua another Alabama of recognition. You know, they know each other very well. That connection can go a long way in the NFL when you already have someone that you know and you know how they produce. And I definitely like that connection with Tua and Waddle. They could have went the other wide receiver as well, but I do like Waddle, and I think Waddle and Parker down there can definitely be a good 1-2 combo. Now we're at pick 7 with the Detroit Lions, and Detroit Lions, they obviously let go of Kenny Golladay walk. He ended up signing with the New York Giants. Marvin Jones ended up signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they obviously need another playmaker. They need someone at wide receiver. Jared Goff really has no one to throw to besides Hawkinson. So for me, I'm going to go Devontae Smith from Alabama to be the next number 1 wide receiver for the Detroit Lions.
I like the pick. I know that the Lions have also been rumored lately to be one of those teams that may trade down, possibly for the Patriots for a quarterback, or who knows what could happen on draft day. But definitely, if they're picking at 7, they're picking one of those top receivers.
Yep, I agree.
So now we have the Carolina Panthers at 8. I feel like the Panthers are going to have to jump on offensive tackle. Now, they may go Pitts if Pitts falls here, but if Pitts isn't there, they're going to try to support Sam Darnold as much as possible, and that means offensive tackle. And they're going to go with Sewell from Oregon here, as he, in my opinion, is the best left tackle in the draft.
I agree, and that's crazy. It's a lot of these guys. I mean, this year in this draft, you're going to see a lot of guys that's either going to fall outside the top 10 that should be top 10 pick. You're going to see some guys drafted in the top 10 that probably shouldn't be drafted in the top 10. Other than, picks 1 and 2 with the Jaguars and Jets, I think anything is open. I think you're going to see many shocking selections this year. Obviously, all the fans watching this video, whether you're Jaguar fans or other fans, you can tell we are not doing any trades with all these draft picks selections right now. I do believe the Falcons may trade down. I know Brandon believes that as well, and he talked about the Lions potentially trading down. So, there are many options, but for the sake of things, we are not doing any trades. But at pick number 9, I'm actually going to go quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I'm going to go Justin Fields. I just think that they need that number 1 quarterback. The offense is very good, I think, for the Broncos. It has a lot of potential. I think Melvin Gordon, he's getting up in their age, but I think he still has a lot of potential still to be a great running back. I mean, you see him just a few years ago when he was still with the Chargers. Phenomenal running back. Injuries and getting up their age definitely slowed down his process and as his play, but he's still, he can definitely produce. And I mean, they have some really good star-studded wide receivers.
100%, and I do believe they're going quarterback. There was released today that Denver actually offered the 9th pick for Matt Stafford, but the Lions decided to go with the Rams pick. And they were rumored to be in the Sam Darnold trade situation. So I 100% agree that they're going to be looking at quarterback here at this pick and try to move on from Locke if Locke is not the answer. So now we move on to the number 10 pick, the Dallas Cowboys. This is where it could start maybe getting a little tricky on who's going to be selected. They obviously need a corner. They have one of the worst secondaries in the league, but they also don't have a left tackle, and Rashawn Slater falls. So does Elijah Vera Tucker, who played left tackle, Christian Durasol. There's a lot of left tackles here, and there's a lot of good corners right around this draft. They could also trade down, but right here, I think they're going to go with their guy, who they think is going to be the next number 1 corner in the league. I think they're going to go with Patrick Surtain II.
I agree 100%. He's one of the best corners in this draft between him and Farley from Virginia Tech, but he's fallen down due to injuries. But Surtain has he has the size, athleticism to be a great corner in the National Football League. Now we are going to pick number 11 with the New York Giants. New York Giants, then go edge rusher, linebacker, corner, even though these are all defensive players, and believe it or not, their defense is actually pretty good in my opinion. They can even go wide receiver, add another weapon for Daniel Jones. For me, it's either between edge rusher and linebacker. Can you pull up the edge rushers for me? I mean, you got Jalen Phillips out of Miami, who's flying up draft boards. I mean, you got Peja from Michigan, who's, flying up draft boards. A lot of these guys are flying up draft boards. But for me personally, I think I'm going to go linebacker. I'm going to go Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. He's the best linebacker in this draft, in my opinion. And I think he's just going to fit that system well with the New York Giants.
100% agree. He can also rush off the edge. The dude's an athletic freak. You put him on that defense is solidified. And at pick 12, the Eagles are very upset here because I do believe that was the Eagles' pick there. I don't believe they saw this draft going like this. All the guys I believe that they were going to go for are now gone. At wide receiver, they're looking at wide receivers later on. Rashawn Slater could be a pick here. Their offensive line always needs help. You got to protect Hurts. Slater there, I think, would be an absolute steal. but I think they're going to go with Jace Horn. Their secondary is also very slim, and I believe that they want to fix that. And you put Horn and Slay out there, that could be actually a dangerous man-man pressure secondary, and that could really help the Eagles pass rush, which is actually very good to begin with Cox and Graham. So I think they're going to boost their secondary and get Jace Horn here, since all the offensive targets are basically gone.
I agree. They definitely need help on the defensive side of the ball, especially linebacker. But unfortunately, you couldn't get the linebacker you wanted. You even signed Harris, I believe, from the Vikings. So already, you get Horn and you get Slay and Harris. That's a pretty good secondary.
The safety from the Vikings as well. They're with Horn here. Their secondary is all of a sudden fixed.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now we're at pick 13 with the Los Angeles Chargers. Either for me, it's going to be edge rusher, offensive tackle. I'm going to go offensive tackle here for the sole purpose of you want to protect Herbert. You've seen Herbert, what he did last year. I mean, he put up phenomenal numbers, played very, very well. Unfortunately, he was just around a bad coaching staff. And he was easily the best rookie quarterback last year. So I think you need to do everything you can to protect him. Don't let him get hurt like Burrow did. So I'm going to go Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. I think he can come in right away, and he can definitely contribute to the offensive line, and he can definitely help make sure Herbert stands up on his feet.
Yeah, 100%. I think that pick takes maybe a whole 1 second to become official for the Chargers. If Slater is there, I 100% think that's their pick. So now we're at pick 14 with the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings need actually a lot of help. Their offensive line is a mess. Their secondary is a mess. Basically, the only place where they're fine at is running back and wide receiver. So here, there's a lot of options. They could go Christian Darrisaw, Elijah Vera Tucker. They could maybe even reach if they really think that Mohig is the top safety. They had some issues off field now with their former draft pick and Gladdy. Depending on charges, he may be out of the NFL for domestic violence. And you have Caleb Farley, who actually got cleared in Indianapolis this week for medically cleared, so he will be ready to go. So maybe he falls to them and they may pick him, but I think their offensive line is one of the worst in the league. They need a left tackle very bad. Kirk Cousins is not as mobile as he used to be. And you got someone like Dalvin Cook, you want to give him running lanes. And with that, I think they're picking Christian Darrisaw, who could potentially be one of the best left tackles in this draft.
I definitely agree. They definitely have a lot of holes to fill, and definitely like the selection. Now we are at pick 15 with the New England Patriots. Now I do believe New England might actually trade up in this draft. Yeah. I really do. I think they signed Cam Newton to that 1-year deal, but I don't think they see Cam Newton as their future starting quarterback, years down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and go Trey Lance. I don't know if Trey Lance is going to fall this far. I think all the quarterbacks are going to be taken top 10. So you're going to see a lot of trades. But for the sake of this mock draft, he was there. And so New England Patriots get their quarterback for the future.
Now, with that said, that we're not doing any trades, this is probably where the teams are going to go for the quarterbacks. There's not really any much need. The Eagles may surprise someone to take a quarterback. But other than that, pretty much where the quarterbacks went is basically where they're going to be going in the draft. So even though there's not necessarily any trades, these are probably the teams that are going to be drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, the Patriots, I think, are definitely going to trade up, in my opinion.
100%. I think Michelle has been saying for months that they want Fields more than anyone. And I could see a trade up because Fields might be the one that falls. Fields could be their answer late in the round, maybe pick 10 with the Cowboys. Who knows? But somewhere around there is our feeling of where the Patriots will end up getting.
And watch out for Washington to potentially trade up as well if someone starts falling.
Yeah, that's a late pick to go, but they could do it.
If you like your guy, you give up anything for him.
Exactly. So now we're at pick 16 with the Arizona Cardinals. They need a cornerback. They need running back. As of today, I believe James Conner is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and visiting the Cardinals. So they may have found their fix there. James Conner would be a pretty good fit there. I personally feel like their offensive line is also not one of the best in the league. And I think they could go Elijah Vera Tucker here, or they could go Caleb Farley. To me, those are basically the two options. And I think that they want Kyler Murray in that offense to be as productive as possible. And I think they're going to go with protecting him with Elijah Vera Tucker. They got Rodney Hudson. That could be one of the best offensive lines and possibly one of the best defensive lines in the league next year. I think they want to keep it that way.
Yep, I agree 100%. Want to make sure you always protect your franchise quarterback at all times. Now we are going to pick 17 with the Las Vegas Raiders. All these teams keep switching seems like every few years.
Right.
But for me, it's either linebacker or offensive tackle. Can you go to linebacker really quick for me? You always had a linebacker from Notre Dame. I mean, this dude is absolutely flying up drafts. He can kind of play nickel, play safety, play linebacker. This dude is a hard hitter. He is someone that you want around the football. Now they can go offensive tackle as well. They trade away, it seems like, half their offensive line or let them go. So I'm really tempted to either go offensive tackle or linebacker. It's such a tough decision for me. For me, I'm actually gonna go Jenkins, offensive tackle from Oklahoma State. I think he's a mauler. This dude's like a bully. I mean, you need him. He'll definitely protect Derek Carr. And obviously, like I said, they trade away, it seems like, all their offensive linemen, even though I definitely like that linebacker from Notre Dame.
Yeah, 100% agree. The linebacker from Notre Dame, we're not trying to try Jeremiah. A lot of comparisons to Isaiah Simmons, just not as tall as Isaiah Simmons, not as heavy as Isaiah Simmons, but plays pretty much almost a similar role. And we saw how high he went last year. So Now we move on to the Miami Dolphins, where he could go here. Miami has a very good defense. Their linebacking core is probably one of the worst on their team, not in the league, but on their team. But I don't know. I see here Jalen Phillips here. He played 1 year at Miami. He absolutely impressed there. And I think that they want to get to the quarterbacks. They're in a division where they're not going to have Zach Wilson, Josh Allen. And I think that they want to get to the quarterback. They want to get it to him fast. And I think Jalen Phillips is probably the best option to do that in this draft almost. And I think they'd be very happy to take Jalen Phillips here at pick 18.
I agree 100%. I definitely like the selection. He is one of the best edge rushers in this draft, and he's just going up draft boards like crazy. So now we're at pick 19 with Washington. They can go offensive tackle, linebacker, safety. I've seen, Trayvon Amorig being mocked to him. Obviously, they can get offensive tackle help as well. This is a tough decision for me. This is a very, very tough decision for me. Can you go to linebacker for me? I'm really thinking about taking the linebacker, Jeremiah from Notre Dame. They already have a good defense, but also I like that safety from TCU going there as well. This is a tough decision.
He could almost play safety here, the guy from Notre Dame.
That's the thing. He can play all over the field. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draft Jeremiah, linebacker from Notre Dame. I mean, Washington already has, in my opinion, top 5 defense. You build to that, and I mean, you make this a powerhouse, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Obviously, I don't know if he'll go there. He might go earlier, he might go later. So we will see what happens there.
Yeah, Washington's a tricky pick, man. Like, they could trade up. They could try to get more offensive weapons. They could try to just solidify that defense. You don't really know. I think they're probably one of the teams that there is no consistent overall pick that they're going to pick at 19. They could trade down. Who knows what could happen. But I like the pick there, 100%. So now we're at pick 20 with the Chicago Bears. And Chicago had a lot of moves this offseason. Got rid of their quarterback, brought in Andy Dalton. I don't think he's the fix, but when you look at quarterbacks here, are they really going to reach that much for Mills? There's a lot of, as the draft gets closer, a lot more people coming out saying that they like Mills, that he's easily the next quarterback after the 5 are taken and possibly could even be better than one of those. We see it every year. A quarterback falls that shouldn't have, that just sneaks by the radar, and one of the top guys gets picked. I don't think they're going here at 20 with that route. Offensive tackle, I don't really think there's anybody worth taking here that wouldn't be there at their next pick or that much of a plus. So I'm looking at this and I'm going wide receiver wise, and I see 4 really, in my opinions, almost elite wide receivers. This wide receiver class is just so deep. And I think with Robinson there on the outside and you put Bateman on the other side, Bateman's played at Minnesota. He's used to the cold weather. They misuse him in Minnesota. And if he would have came out last year, he would have been one of the top wide receivers taken in the draft. And I think they want to at least give Andy Dalton as much as possible. They still got a solid defense. I think they're going to pick Rashad Bateman to be the number 2 wide receiver on their team.
I definitely like the selection. You obviously have Allen Robinson, but he can only do so much by himself. And
1-year deal, franchise tag,
yeah. And with Andy Dalton, you want to make sure you give as many weapons as you can to make sure he succeeds.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at the Indianapolis Colts at pick 21. They can go offensive tackle, corner, or wide receiver. For me, I think that obviously with their left tackle retiring, and you have Carson Wentz now. Carson Wentz is someone that he's been injury prone in the past few years. It seems like, obviously 2017 when he got hurt, when he was having the MVP season, he just seems like ever since then he can't stay healthy. He always misses a few games, and I think you need to keep him upright. So I'm going to go Samuel Gusemi, offensive tackle from Texas. I definitely think he has a lot of potential. Obviously not the best offensive tackle in this draft, but you need to do what you can to protect Carson Wentz.
100% agree. As also an Eagles fan, Carson Wentz needs protection, especially after his ACL injury. He's just not as mobile as he once was, and I think that they have to address their offensive line issues.
I mean, they already have a good offensive line, but they don't have an left tackle anymore.
They lost their veteran left tackle, and that's really hard to replace. And they didn't sign anyone really. They were going after Trent Williams, and they didn't get him. So
I know they signed someone and like their free agency, but it was only like a 1 year, 2-year deal. It wasn't like
it's not a big name guy. They're going to have to still rebuild on that offensive line. T.Y. Hilton's there, so they got at least one more year wide receiver core being somewhat decent.
Yep.
So now we move to the other AFC rival, the Tennessee Titans. And here, I think it's pretty cut and dry that they're either drafting a secondary player or a wide receiver. They may have gone edge, but with that signing of Bud Dupree of $18 million, it's not going to happen. So at the wide receiver position, they're either probably going to go Moore or Tony just based on their athletic just abilities. And you put that with A.J. Brown, that would be just terrible to face. But Caleb Farley has now fallen to pick 22, where just a couple of weeks ago or months ago, he was going in within the top 10. And he just got medically cleared in Indianapolis. So I think this is about as far as he's going to go. Maybe I would put the Jets here at 23 taking him, but I think the Tennessee Titans are going to pick Caleb Farley now.
I can definitely see that selection. They obviously need another wide receiver next to A.J. Brown. But defensively, they obviously let go of Adoree Jackson, who ended up signing with the Giants. Malcolm Butler, who ended up signing with the Arizona Cardinals. All they have now is Fulton, the rookie from last year, and they obviously signed Janoris Jenkins. But Janoris Jenkins is obviously not is not in their future plans. He's more so that 1-2 year guy to be here. And with Caleb Farley still coming, they said he's medically cleared. Since you signed Janoris Jenkins, you don't have to expect him to start right away. So I think that's a phenomenal selection with Caleb Farley.
Yeah.
Now we're the New York Jets at pick 23, and for me, I think they got to go corner here. Their defense last year was terrible. They couldn't stop anyone really. And Greg Newsome from Northwestern, I think he has a chance to be honestly the best corner in this draft if he works out. He has the athleticism, the size. He has the size that they want with the Jets.
Yeah, 100% agree. I don't think a lot of people know him because he's playing out of Northwestern. I don't remember if he was a holdout or not in college. By the way, not many games played last year, especially for Northwestern. So I think that's a great pick. I think he's like 6'1", 200 pounds, about that, and is considered one of the top guys to watch out for.
Yep.
So now here we are with the Pittsburgh Steelers here at 24. This is another team for me that I feel like they can go anywhere. They need help at a lot of places now. Their quarterback situation is not looking good. Their running back situation isn't looking good. They lost offensive linemen, some of their top offensive linemen. They let go some of their top corners, which I don't understand. So I think the Steelers here are going to want as many picks as possible in this draft and just want best available player. So we just look on the list right here, who's best available. Got Uzolari, edge rusher at Georgia, Travis Etienne, Pitty, Harris, Morig, Zach Collins, Barmore. I think it could be any of these guys. I think they're just going to pick whoever is best available. And in my opinion, I think the best available here at 24, I want to pick either Etienne or Harris. It's just tough to pick a running back in the first round nowadays, just because when you look at what happened last year with Jonathan Taylor fell, J.K. Dobbins fell, like everybody who is a prototypical first round running back fell to the second round. And I think we're going to see a trend of this. So I don't think they're necessarily going to go here. I think one of their top choices actually could be Landon Dickerson out of Alabama. That if the only problem is injury history. If he wasn't injured as much as he was, he would be the best, one of the best offensive linemen in this draft. They lost Pouncey. This could be a pick, but I think it's a stretch. So at the end of the day, after going on rambling, I think they're going to pick Uzolari, try to fit in that edge rush that they lost with Bud Dupree, and try to just continue to have that Steeler pass rush team with Watt and Uzolari.
Blitzburg is going to continue. They're going to continue to get to the quarterback. I definitely like the selection, best available player. Nothing wrong with that when you're picking in the 20s. Now we're at pick 25 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for me, I'm going to go wide receiver here. They could obviously go Trayvon Moore from TCU, but I think Urban Meyer, he wants speed. He wants his offense explosive. You already have DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones, Colin Johnson. There's nothing wrong with adding another wide receiver. And they've had numerous interviews already and have more scheduled with Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from Florida. He brings that, he's a smaller wide receiver. He's very elusive. He can, give you a little, go to the left, go back to the right really quick, make you fall over, break your ankles, basically type of wide receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and select Toney, the wide receiver from Florida. And I think, having him, DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, and Marvin Jones is a very good wide receiver group.
I 100% agree. I think if you look at this list, I think it's either between the safety from TCU or Toney from Florida. I think that's probably would be the only thing that would stop this card from coming in as soon as possible. If one of these guys are gone, then I think it's an easy pick. You just pick whoever's not gone. With both of them being there, it's tough, but I agree. They just had so many meetings with Toney scheduled, and Urban's a Florida guy. And I think that he would very much like to have him on this roster, and our offense would be looking so much better compared to what it did last year with that pick.
Yeah, and don't be surprised either if the Jaguars say they have Toney on their boards and Trayvon, and they both are, or even another guy they have as well, and say they're already selected. Do not be surprised if they trade down and accumulate more picks and be like, maybe just give us a second, like a fifth rounder, and then they could have 3 second rounders. So do not be surprised with that if their guys that they want at 25 are gone.
100% agree, because I think they have a select number of guys because they don't need linebackers. They edge rushers and running back. We've already talked about that. So if their guys are gone, I could see Urban saying we're only going to get the guys we want. We're not going to settle. So now we're here at pick 26 with the Cleveland Browns. Pick here was pretty much edge rusher for a while until last couple days, hours, with Clowney being in Cleveland and basically being set dry that he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. So they solved their edge rushing problem. They still could need wide receiver. Beckham is coming off an ACL injury. They need a lot of help there. They could need corner, but they signed actually one of the best corners in the free agency, so they may not go there. So the only option I really see for a really good Cleveland Browns team is probably Christian Barmore in an interior defensive line. If you put Barmore, Myles Garrett, Clowney with that secondary, they're going to get to the quarterback. They may steal Blitzburghs and make it something with Browns kind of punt on it, but they may have one of the better pass rushes in the league if they have Clowney, Garrett, and Barmore, I feel like.
I can definitely see that selection. Always, besides quarterback, you want to make sure offensive line and defensive line are always, up to par. You want to make sure those are some of the most important positions. Build those trenches up. If you have a good defensive line, it makes your secondary even better. And obviously, like you said, they signed a good secondary player in free agency in Johnson from the Rams. So I definitely like the selection. Now, for me, with the Ravens at pick 27, they can go many different positions here. They obviously just signed Sammy Watkins to a deal. But Sammy Watkins is inconsistent, especially with injury. And the problem, he seems like he'd only play half the year. That's what it seems like. Or, he'd show up for a game and basically didn't do nothing the next game. So for me, they still have Brown, but I still think they need to solidify get a number one wide receiver. So for me, if you can go to wide receiver, I like Elijah Moore, but I'm actually going to go Marshall Jr. From LSU. I think he fits that role with the Baltimore Ravens very well.
100%. I think they still need that tall receiver. Hollywood Brown is their short, speedy guy. They don't really have anybody else for that, and I think he would be a good pick there. Patrick Queen is banging on the table for this guy if he falls to them in an interview I watched recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go there either. Personally, I think they may go secondary, but I could totally see them going wide receiver. They need to score. They need to score quick, and that's what it showed in their playoff game. They didn't score. So now we're at pick 28 with the Saints. Another team. It seems like all these 20s, they can go any way they want to. Saints have a lot of holes, and I think they may pick wide receiver here to pair with Michael Thomas. I think after Elijah Moore, it really kind of drops off to everybody's kind of like in the same. Elijah Moore put up an crazy pro day. Ole Miss is just pumping out wide receivers that have genetics that I've never seen before with DK Metcalf and now Elijah Moore's. He's not the same physical guy, but he is one of the best slot receivers in this draft. And I think him and Michael Thomas would be just a nightmare. Hill, Kamara, I think that would be really much upgrade the Saints offense, which was lacking last year. So I think they're going to go Elijah Moore here.
I definitely can see that selection. Saints are being mocked to draft a wide receiver in the last few mocks I have looked at recently, so definitely can see that. And now the Green Bay Packers are probably pissed off right now because they probably definitely wanted Elijah Moore or Marshall. They just definitely want a wide receiver. You have a Rondell Moore who's there, but I don't know if they want to pick him because he's probably going to fall to the second round. Here you can go offense tackle. You can get, another offensive lineman. Nothing wrong with that, protecting Rodgers. You can go corner. You can go defensive lineman. I mean, you can go pretty much anything for the Packers. It's a tough decision. And they might even go best player available. And you're currently best player available. You are. Yeah, but obviously they're not going to go running back. They just signed Aaron Jones. That's a big deal. They drafted a running back in the second round last year. So those are off the board. Someone that I could actually see them picking is Collins, the linebacker from TCU. I definitely think that would not be a bad move at all by any means. I don't know. I either want to pick Collins or I want to pull the trigger on Rondell Moore because I definitely think they need another wide receiver. You know what I'm going to do? You go ahead and draft Rondell Moore for the Green Bay Packers. I think you need another wide receiver besides Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams gets double teamed a lot, and I really don't think they have that really solidified that number 2 wide receiver just yet until now.
Yeah, I 100% that I agree that they want a wide receiver so bad. Aaron Rodgers has still been vocal to this day about how they don't help him. They don't help him. He's not sure if he's going to retire a Packer, and I don't think you can have that talk go on much longer. I think if they drafted a defensive player, I think Rodgers is going to be even more livid. So I agree that you just take the best. They may trade down in that sense because Moore might be there in the 30s, but in this draft, 100%, you try to do anything you can to help Aaron Rodgers. So now we go to the Buffalo Bills at pick 30. They need a corner because they don't really have anybody besides White out there. Edge rusher was one of their biggest disappointments near the end of the year. They couldn't get to the pass rush, and they actually benched a lot of their guys near the end of the season because they felt like they weren't doing well enough. Wide receiver could be an option, but I don't think that's necessarily a need. Same with running back. They still got a lot of young guys out there, and I don't think that's the worst part of their team. So personally, I think they're going to go pass rush, and Kwity Paye is there. He has fallen. Some people have him going all the way up to the Giants at 10, and I think that's an absolute steal here for the Michigan player, Kwity Paye, to play for the Buffalo Bills.
I definitely like the selection. I don't know if he'll fall this far. I completely forgot about him. So we will see. But like we said earlier, players fall all the time.
Defensive players are going to fall in this draft. There's so many offensive players that they want. There's going to be some top defensive players that are going to fall in this draft.
Yep, I agree 100%. And now we're at pick 31 with the Kansas City Chiefs. And for me, I think they got to go offensive linemen. They let go both their tackles. And obviously, you got to protect Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, you see what happened in the Super Bowl. He was running for his life. That's what it seemed like. And for me, I mean, you obviously got Alex Leatherwood from Alabama. I think he'll more so fall into the second round. You got Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. I'm going to go ahead and go with Dylan Raduz from North Dakota State. If I said his name right, that was my bad if I didn't. I like it because he can play left tackle, right tackle. He can also play some guard. He's very flexible, and I think that would be a great use for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I 100% agree that they've shown in the free agency they want the best offensive line imaginable, and they're going to take the best guy that they view there, and they could very much be Radunz, or it could be Eichenberg, Alex Leatherwood. All I think are good options there at 31. So here we are, last pick of the draft with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Today they just signed Giovanni Bernard from they just got released from Cincinnati. They're not drafting a running back anymore. I was on that board that they were going to draft Etienne or Harris. So who knows what they could do here now. I've even heard rumors that I mentioned earlier, they may go Mills here. I heard a lot of NFL teams actually like him. He will not be there by their second round pick, and they have no really answer for Tom Brady when he leaves in the next 2 years, or whenever really Tom Brady wants to. But my guess is within the next 2 years, Tom Brady's gone. You put him behind there, you could have a next franchise quarterback in line, or they could go with what they view as the best player or best overall need. I don't think they're drafting safety.
Yeah.
They don't need linebackers. They don't need running backs. So you're looking here and you see offensive line, edge rushers. They could possibly do that. And I don't know what, honestly, man, this is one of the tougher picks.
But there's a lot of good players still available.
And yeah, that's the other thing. And it's very popular. We keep saying it, even though we're not doing trades. especially for around these guys, the AFC champions, NFC champions, they like to trade down because they already have a good team. If they didn't lose their starting quarterback and coach for some reason, they like to trade down and get as many picks as possible. I think the Bucks are a prime candidate to trade down, but we're not doing that. So I think they're going to pick what I believe is their worst position is the interior defensive line. Sue is not what he used to be. He only has a 1-year contract. Vita Vea is a pretty decent player, but he's not an amazing player. So maybe you try to find a hole in which you can fill with Levi Uzarowski, which some people actually believe is better than Christian Barmore and can play both on the as 3-4 or 4-3, but with the Bucks, he would play a 4-3. And I think he would be a great fit there. So I think they would go with the interior defensive lineman from Washington to end the first round.
I can definitely see that. Like we talked about, a lot of these good players, especially defense players, have fallen. So I think you're going to see a lot of good players, defense fall to the second round. And that's going to help the Jaguars actually out a lot, especially with pick the 33 and 45. So we will see what happens. Like I said, like we talked about, there was no trades in this mock draft. We are going to do at least 2 more mock drafts, one for the Jaguars and also another one like similar to this, but we will include trades next time. But I'm going to go ahead and put a link to our social media, our Twitter and Instagram in the description below. So definitely go check those out. Also comment, give us your thoughts. Tell us what you liked about our mock draft, what you didn't like, some selection that you would do differently than us. But other than that, thanks for watching, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, and go Jags.
Go Jags.